Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back for another EVE Online video. In today's video we are going to talk a little bit about the wardeck because, well, the co-incorporated or the alliance that I actually run has been wardecked, and well, I want to talk a little bit about what I've done so far, what my experience has been, and maybe also give like some pointers hopefully to some newer players. If they get wardecked, I can fully understand that this can be something that feels very annoying and ruthless, but for me personally, this is the beauty of the sandbox. Of course, stuff like that can always happen, and so it's very important that you remember rule number 1 in EVE Online: don't fly and don't deploy what you can't afford to lose. So I have 5 structures up here. And you can see now I get a warning whenever I want to undock. You also get an icon here that shows that you are that you've been wardecked. And in local, I can quickly see that there is no one from the opposing faction that's in system. So I should be okay at this point. So as I was saying, I do have quite a few structures up here, but it's okay for me to lose them. This might sound weird, but yeah, if I were to lose them, I could replace them or I could start on a different path. Whatever I want to do, it's still available, and you know, I haven't deployed them with the thought in mind that I would never lose them. This can always happen. This is, after all, the sandbox, of course. So the first few things that I have done is, of course, set the enemy corporation or the enemy alliance, actually it's Domain Research and Mining Institute. We actually set them to terrible standing in the red. Do that on your corporation standings. That way they will always show up, of course, and I think they always show up as war targets as well, no matter what you do. But just, you know, give them a bad rep, and also, of course, put them on the ban list for access to your structures. It makes little sense to allow them to build up in your own structures, which they might then want to blow up. After that, I evacuated most of the very valuable stuff that I have in my structure. So stuff like some of the more expensive battleships that I have, the more expensive blueprints, a little bit of the bulk as well from my loot and things like that. Basically, not because I'm afraid of what would happen if they blow up, but since I don't use that stuff that regularly, you know, would be a little bit silly to lose the structures and then to have to pay extra to get them out of the asset safety system. But yeah, everything in my structures is relatively safe. If they get destroyed, they get into asset safety, and if I'm not mistaken, I have to pay a little bit in order to get them out. At least I think that's how it still works, and if it's in an NPC station. It's actually never happened, so I'm not 100% sure. After that, this is what I've been doing, of course, flying around in a stealth bomber. Let's maybe go to Chunka to do another quick patrol around here. And that's something I've been doing, at least in the first couple of days. Just patrol around in my stealth bomber, keep an eye on local, see if any war targets show up, if I see any evidence of a buildup of forces or preparations for a massive assault. Now, let's be honest, I'm mostly a solo player. I have 5 structures out. If there were to be a big assault, there's not really any way for me to stop that. But as I've said in the beginning, the last thing you want to do is panic. What you want to do is keep rule number 1 in mind: don't fly and don't deploy what you can't afford to lose. And then all of this actually just becomes part of the sandbox experience, and that's exactly what it is for me. Now, my focus is away from the PvE, away from the relaxed nature of EVE Online, and we are now paying attention to what happens, trying to experience the war, maybe get a couple of kills if I found the opportunity. And otherwise see if we can end the war without giving the opponent too much fun as well. Of course, you've got to learn from this experience, and so for us, this is actually okay. This is part of EVE Online, of course. So here you can see it's pretty empty around, and so far I actually haven't seen any war targets close to Dital on any of my patrols. Another thing that I did was go take a look in Jita then, because I have been wardecked in the past, although it's actually been a pretty long time ago, and once it was very noticeable that I was only wardecked as part of a big list of wardecks, and that I would find the war targets in Jita. So basically that wardeck was there to try and catch extra people that would want to do trading there, and you know, if they see you pass by, they will of course try to destroy you. But to my surprise, this was really my thought. I haven't seen anyone in the first 3 days of the wardeck. What the hell is happening here? Perhaps there are another another one of those corporations that basically stick to JITA, stick to the trade hubs, and try to take advantage of wardecks that way. Doesn't look to be that way either. Haven't seen anyone in Amar, haven't seen anyone in JITA. So yeah, it's a bit of a mystery what this wardeck is all about at this point. We will see, of course, as everything develops. But I thought for this video that it could also be interesting. So we have a war going on here so far. Well, as I've said, haven't really seen anyone around, so we don't have any kills or anything like that happening. But something that's new, of course, to the wardeck mechanics is that there's now a war headquarters, and this one is in Bitanshal. So let's set a destination there and let's go take a look. I actually kind of wonder what structure it is and what it looks like. So here we go. We gotta keep going in Esesama. It's only 8 jumps from us, so if they want to perform an operation and they actually have like a lot of forces available in those headquarters, they could pretty easily just come by, take down the shields, and then arrange for the next timers that they have to do. Of course, all of my structures are active, so it's shield timer, armor timer, structure timer. And well, they could do some damage, but as I said, nothing that I feel is a real problem. So let's go take a look. We get a couple more jumps. If you want to be a little more comfortable, what you can also do is, of course, make local a little bit bigger. Let's see if I can actually grab that. That way you can, you know, at a quick glance, you can immediately see if there is anyone. They should show up in red. And let's take a quick look through help, because what I did notice is that one character was online quite a lot in help channel. So he kept blinking red for me, but I haven't seen that at this point. Maybe anyone in EVE University? You can always take a look. You don't really see anything there. And then in Detail Defense, that's you know, a chat channel where we also take a look at what's available for the moon mining in Detail. I think it's invite only at this point though. So let's go take a look a little bit closer. 6 jumps out, then we still don't see anyone. And of course, back in the day, something that you could very easily do was just start looking for characters that are in this alliance, in these corporations. You could do that through Zekiel and things like that, and you could always add them to your contact list. That would then you know, tell you, okay, there's someone online, there's a lot of them online, things like that. Those times are over. That Intel tool is over now. You can only have those notifications when both you and the other character have accepted or have set themselves as a contact that way. So right now we are flying a little bit blind, basically. I don't know if there's no one there, if there's 100 people there. You know, you could go through all of these corporations and try to hunt for that information. And if, you know, I felt like it was... If I saw more people, let's say, I would definitely start to take notes, try to find out who they are, what their patterns are, take a look at Zekiel, what they usually fly, to see if, you know, they're like cruiser gangs or if they're battleship players, things like that. But yeah, at this point, I have to be honest, I've got 0 intel on my enemy or the reason for the wardeck. So let's just keep going. We've got just a couple more jumps to go. Something that I would always use would be a stealth bomber. Honestly, it can hit above its weight. If you happen to catch an enemy transport ship or something like that, you can of course always go for that. But like this, with a scram and a whip, it can also tackle smaller targets, stuff like exploration frigates. I've actually been able to tackle a couple of those back in the day when I was living in wormhole space. It actually worked out quite fine as well. Still nothing to report in local. And something else, well, against really strong combat ship, right, interceptors, combat interceptor, things like that will struggle, but I feel like this is pretty good. It's not too costly, it's covered up, so you can always cloak while warping. You can get to safe spots, things like that, pretty easy. It's nimble, and yeah, it's got these torpedo launchers, so it can definitely hit well above its weight class, which I think is fun. If you'd ask me what you want to fly mostly for PvP, a stealth bomber would be my #1 pick. Next up here, we still have no one in local. And yeah, you could always, of course, if you think that maybe they are actively looking for you, you can always also like try to cloak before going to warp, just to try and stay stealthy. Also, take that habit, of course, if you're under a wardeck, you know, keep an eye on local at least. Once you find targets here, you might want to put up the D-scan as well to see what's happening around you, and of course be cloaked so that you know, they can't just target you, scram you, and potentially destroy you, of course. So we get a couple more jumps to go. This is pretty exciting for me personally. I can understand, right, if you're newer, you've got your first structure set up for the first week or so, and you're immediately hit by a wardeck. It can be very frustrating and demotivating, but at this point, right, you've got this enemy HQ. You could always try to hire mercenaries to go and do the dirty job for you. It will cost a little bit of risk. I can understand for newer players that that's not always an option. But otherwise, yeah, as long as you kept the number one rule in mind, that you should never fly or deploy what you cannot afford to lose, you should be fine, and you should really see these wardecks as an opportunity to learn more about EVE Online as a part of a sandbox as well. This is the sandbox nature of EVE Online. Nothing is ever really safe. You never know when you're going to lose everything that you've built up or risked at any one time. And then of course, you know, a reset like that would, for me personally, be an opportunity to maybe try something else. Who knows what kind of plans could come out of not having to basically manage the detail stations anymore. I'm thinking I could go to nullsec, I could go back to wormhole space. All of those things are definitely possible. Now here, to my surprise, I'm not sure Waruth, 19 people in local, no war targets though. So that is fine, but that's a little bit more than all the other systems that we have gone through. And then what we still have to look for, of course, is see what's happening in that enemy headquarters in that system. If there's any place where we could potentially see some more targets, it would be here, of course. So let's pay a little bit more attention here and focus on what's to come. We are going to get into the enemy system. Now, theories that I have at this point, I've never actually, I think, had a war with an enemy headquarters. So that's pretty interesting. It could also be that this is just an out and away station for them. That's not that important. It's kind of looking like that. We've got 5 people in local. That is definitely not a lot. My waypoint is set there, so I could just warp straight to it. So we're gonna warp at 100. We're going to cloak immediately as well, and then we're going to see if we can spot anything, whoops, on the overview. I'm not too worried. Looking at who's in local now. Hi, who? Little Astero on the gate there. Perhaps they'll have like neutral scouts, things like that. Of course, in wars, anything goes, including having alts that are not in your alliance or corporation to keep an eye on enemy movements. Things like that are absolutely possible. And here we go. For a second there, my heart skipped a beat because we saw something blinking, but it is an enemy Astra who's right here. That is basically my war target at 99 kilometers. Let's take a look at it. Just a pretty regular Astra Hus, nothing here to report. It is in the state vulnerable. Can I press show info or something like that? Do we notice anything? I think it has to be fueled in order to do anything. Should we poke the Hornet's Nest? What's the range on my launchers here? 61 kilometers. Perhaps we could fire a couple of missiles just to give him a mail. If I'm not mistaken, there's also, of course, something that you have to keep an eye out for, especially when you get wardecked. You get a mail from Concord that, for instance, here explains that Death Wish left that alliance, so their war was still going for like 24 hours after that it ended. And here, of course, we have the war declaration itself. In your structures, normally you'll get emails there that will explain that your station has been attacked or something like that. So part of me wants to, throw a couple missiles at these guys just to tell them, hey, I haven't really seen you guys around. Part of me also wants to not do that because so far the war hasn't meant anything. Business is still going pretty much as usual. Of course, I'm not flying around in my rattlesnake or anything like that at the moment, or mining in my orca. Don't want to get caught with my pants down in those ships, but you know, something like the jackdaw, although jackdaw, that's not a big deal. So that kind of stuff is definitely still going. And so this is also something that as a newer player you'll have to learn by experiencing war decks from time to time. What is the best strategy or your best strategy to try and handle these war decks? You can try to be aggressive, try and annoy them, maybe try and catch a war target unawares, or you can do the exact opposite. You can try to be elusive, not show any responses to them actually war decking you, threatening your structure, things like that. For that, we of course have our extra bases of operations. You can see we get jump clones in Iona, which is in Galente space, pretty far away, all the way on the other side of the center of the galaxy with the trade hubs. Could do anything I want there. We've got trade one in Nibale, which is in Solitude, a small high-sec island. Definitely not easy to come and chase us there. And then, of course, in Esesama, I got my my extra clone as well. Now, I also have one in Caldari space in Gigutami, but it's very close to Jita, so I'm not sure at this point if I want to make that a base of operation. I'm actually thinking of putting this guy in Terra. Can you imagine that they then do a search for you because they want to get some kills on their war, and it'll be this guy sitting somewhere in Terra. We'll have to go there for our war. We'll have to deploy forces over there. That's going to be pretty damn annoying to do as well. I think that's going to be my next project when it comes to preparations for these war decks. And what the hell? Let's poke the Hornet's Nest. We're here to have some fun. So let's decloak. Let's see if I can just fire missiles. I first need to target it, of course. That goes pretty quickly. And then I'll just fire a couple of volleys at the Astros. Keep an eye on local. And let's see what kind of... We definitely don't have the damage needed to do any real damage to this. But yeah, this should give them like a notification. And it's repairing in 15 minutes. So you could keep, of course, right... The target here would be to destroy this structure in order to win the war. Well, I would have to keep applying damage, get through all of those shields before this 15-minute timer runs out. And I'm not really sure why it keeps ticking when I'm still doing damage. Is it not supposed to reset after my hits or something like that? Not exactly sure how that works, but yeah, there we go. You know, organize, especially if you have like friends, a bigger corporation or something like that, try to organize a force and try to get through that station. Eventually it is perhaps possible for you to do that. Of course, after that, armor timer, structure timer, so you are going to war, of course, but you could give that a try. And here, of course, I'm solo, I can't really do much. All I did here was poke the Hornet's Nest, see if there's any response for that. And I think, you know, message sent. I'll see you guys back out there. I'll continue to patrol, perhaps in my stealth bomber, perhaps in something more powerful. We're not gonna give away all of the tricks and all of the preparations that I've made in case of war, all of the PvP ships that I've got ready. But this is how I'm approaching this right now. This is a learning experience. This is a part of the sandbox, and I actually enjoy it. Just, you know, trying to see, do I want to be more active? Is it more of an evasion that's going to work here? What's the enemy up to? What's it all about? Still, I've got absolutely no idea. Hopefully, the next couple of days and perhaps weeks, not exactly sure how long all of this is going to last. Oh, lesson learned right here. Pretty important, actually. So let's actually go to an asteroid belt as well. Oh, no, now my log-off timer is here, so I should be fine. But the aggression timer... Oh, I'm already in warp. So the aggression timer prevented me from going through the gate. Actually kind of important, right? If you would be poking the Hornet's Nest, all of a sudden you see people log in and they're going after you. Well, don't just go straight to the gate, because you might not be able to go through that, and then they actually might be able to catch you as well. But yeah, I feel like this is okay to do, right? They declared war on us, still nothing clear. I'm just gonna give them a hello. You know, I'm out there hunting for anything that I can find. but so far haven't really found anything. It's entirely possible that this is more of like a war deck that they did as a series of war decks just to try and give themselves more targets. It's entirely possible that they're in like a completely different time zone and things like that as well. But we'll see. This is definitely pretty fun and interesting. And of course, I'll try to keep you guys up to date. For now, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.